coalition. That's the Climate Action Plan Justice Coalition. And we are a group that has formed in order to address the Allegheny County Climate Action Plan that is currently being formed. And we, the people of Allegheny County, want to have a say in this climate action plan that will impact our lives, our region, this city of Pittsburgh, Western Pennsylvania, and the entire globe. So what I'm going to do today is introduce a bunch of amazing speakers who are part of our coalition, and we are going to talk about why we want to have a say in this and what we want to see in our climate action plan. That being said, I'm going to pass it over to our first speaker, Fawn Walker-Montgomery. Thank you.
So hello everyone. Thanks for coming out today. So my name is Fawn Walker-Montgomery and I'm the CEO and co-founder for Take Action Advocacy Group. I'm also a longtime community activist. I'm an environmental justice consultant as well. So I'm also a member of the Justice Coalition that Julia just spoke about. So I do just want to go over some background about who we are. So we started earlier this year. We've had about 10 Zoom strategy sessions, I would say 10 plus, representing from about 85 organizations. So it's really a volunteer steering committee of people who honestly just came together and gave a damn about what was going on with our CAP. So you all can see some of the organizations. I won't read them all out. This is about over 85 of us that are represented. Just wanted to give you some background about what we've been doing and what we've been working on. So the Allegheny County Department of Sustainability is tasked with developing the CAP. So the way that the ordinance is currently written, there is no language specifying community engagement or just even involving the actual people within the CAP. So our coalition believes that the county should choose a firm for the climate action plan that supports services and has a record of consistent commitment to environmental justice and accessible, inclusive process with no ties to the fossil fuel industry. I'm going to say that again. No ties to the fossil fuel industry. Yes, that deserves a clap. No ties. So we're talking about a firm because all the work that I just mentioned, that this volunteer steering committee did, the county is basically trying to ignore that and hire a consultant. So what we're saying is if you're going to hire a consultant, you damn sure need to choose a firm that is going to be consistent with their commitment to environmental justice, making sure it's an inclusive process, and with no ties to the fossil fuel industry. The next piece is that there should be a community task force. Now, we also put together a petition as well, that has been floating around social media for weeks. We have over 50 signatures on that as well. But we want to make sure that the community task force has a special focus on members of environmental justice communities who bear basically the highest weight when it comes to climate change. We also want to expand the scope of the CAP beyond county operations to at least meet the baseline requirements of the county CAP ordinance by following the Pittsburgh Climate Action Plan. So you all can read more about this on our sign-on letter, which I'm hoping a lot of you had already signed on to. When I'm up here, I wouldn't be who the hell I am if I didn't mention environmental justice. So we want to make sure that when we're talking about environmental justice in the CAP, that is first recognized, acknowledged, and addressed within the CAP. This region has a long history of ignoring environmental justice communities with a long history of racism and community trauma, especially those in the Mon Valley. So I don't think you must live under a rock if you don't know I live in the Mon Valley. I'm a longtime resident of McKeesport. So what that means for me is that I can't walk down the street without my eyes burning or my ears itching. Certain parts of my community smell like rotten eggs. Certain parts of my community have been labeled a sacrifice zone. Now I want y'all to just digest that for a minute. I go to sleep and I wake up in a damn sacrifice zone. I can't breathe. We have high amounts of asthma, high amounts of cancer. And that's just not the Mon Valley, that's Pittsburgh in general. Pittsburgh ranks as one of the top 25 most polluted cities. Top 25 most polluted cities, you all. Lead was detected in 80% of our public water systems. In McKeesboro, we have a water advisory every year. I didn't even know that it was something that shouldn't happen until a few years ago. Because nobody bothers to explain that to us. So when we're talking about this CAP, the process needs to be inclusive and it needs to address environmental racism. And I'm going to say this before I leave on, especially due to current events. Listen to the people. We have said this from the beginning that this process needs to be inclusive. Everyone should be involved. We took our own time and basically told y'all how to do it, and then you ignored that and went on and hired basically your own firm. Listen to the people who are on the ground, the people who are fighting this every day, and the people who it impacts. Listen to us. We are telling you what we want, and then it's about time that you listen to the actual people. So please make sure that you go on, if you haven't done it already, that you sign on to our letter, and make sure that you tell your elected officials, your county council representatives, to listen to us. Listen to the actual people. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, Fawn, for kicking us off. And yes, we do have our petition here today. So if you would like to sign that and sign on and join our project, join our coalition, we are able to get you involved today. Now we're going to hear from Pheobe Resse from the Climate Reality Project. Thanks, Pheobe.
Thank you so much. I'm Pheobe Resse with the Climate Reality Project chapter from Pittsburgh in southwestern Pennsylvania. We have more than 600 members across our region, mostly based in Allegheny County, and we're so honored to be with this group here of organizations and grassroots groups that have come together with an interest in building a strong and healthy, sustainable Allegheny County into the future and participate in the Climate Action Plan. This is a gift. All of us and our voices and perspectives are gifts. And we hope that the county will receive that gift of what we have to contribute because we all want the same things. We asked the Allegheny County Climate Action Plan process to include direct partnership and ongoing consultation with those who are most adversely impacted by the harms of county air pollution and climate impacts. Allegheny County air quality is a climate justice issue and an issue of public health. Pollutants from burning fossil fuels and rising temperatures compound already worsening air pollution. Infants, children, adults with chronic upper respiratory disease or heart disease, and people who are economically disadvantaged are most at risk of health harms from air pollution. That's from the Pennsylvania Department of Health. Allegheny County already ranks among the worst 1% of counties in the United States for cancer risk from industrial point source air pollution. These are the same drivers that are hurting community health to such a severe degree are also contributing to climate change. And those who are most vulnerable are also feeling the impacts of climate change disproportionately when we experience it here in Allegheny County in the form of excessive heat days, flooding, and landslides, etc. We also want to mention disability justice. One group in particular that we describe, people with disabilities are disproportionately impacted by the climate crisis. Yet historically, there's been a lack of focus on the intersection of climate and disability when it comes to creating climate policy, programming, research, and resilience planning. And we asked the Allegheny County Health Department and the Department of State Sustainability to please create a climate action plan and community task force that includes people with disabilities in the development of our climate action plan. People with disabilities have so much to contribute. They've spent their lives adapting to a world that wasn't built for them and become experts in adaptation. We lose out when we don't include those voices, and we have so much to gain by bringing people with disabilities to the table. So we hope that the climate action plan process will please include among many, the spectrum of voices, people with disabilities. So to address global warming, we must end the fossil fuel just transition to clean, renewable energy that will create good health and prosperity for all of us. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Phoebe. Yes, we want an inclusive climate action plan, and we want an inclusive process to get it. Thank you for making that point about different groups that need to be involved. Now we're going to hear from Juan Lingo from the Sunrise Movement Pittsburgh.
Hello, everyone. I was raised in a hot and dry city in the north part of Mexico called Monterrey. I've been living in Pittsburgh for 7 years so far. And at first I thought it was going to be difficult because of the winters that we don't really have in Mexico. But recent winters have been pretty mild, in part because of climate change. In general, life has been fine. I like the people that I met here across the different neighborhoods in the town. I also like the connection to nature and wildlife even that we have in Pittsburgh that I didn't have back there. For instance, near the place that I live, I very commonly see deer or rabbits or groundhogs. That's not something that I had back then. I came here to work as a software engineer, and that has been really easy and good for me. About a year ago, I started getting involved in climate activism. And it didn't take very long for me to come to a very profound realization. Not everyone in the county has had it as easy and as good as I have. People in the Mon Valley are rated in the US among the highest rate of asthma and air pollution caused cancer in the whole country. Also, there are a lot of neighborhoods that have been historically marginalized or have been a victim of systemic racism. And honestly, it has passed a lot of time, and things don't change that much. And all these communities are in the front line of all the climate disasters that we have already seen, like all these heat waves, or like flooding. They are disproportionately affected. I have been living in this privileged bubble, but not everybody has had a life as easy and as good as I had. And this is heartbreaking to me. That's why last year, when there was this initiative to start with the climate action plan for the county, I was excited because many of these issues for all these people, for all the neighbors and all the people here, would be addressed. And I was disappointed at how it went. The scope was minimized to only county operations, only government operations. And the process has been very opaque. And above all the people that need to be involved in the process have been left out. And that is completely outrageous, because one of the worst things of this realization that I had is that I really can't represent all these people. I just can't. And neither with the consultants that they hired. Only people of color, only immigrants, only refugees, only the formerly incarcerated people, people with disabilities, indigenous people, only the youth. They can speak for themselves. So it is unacceptable that they have not been given a proper seat in the decision table. And this is not only about being nice with everyone. This is about making a plan that actually works. Because these groups know what hurts. And they also know how to solve these issues. And also, the success or failure of the climate action plan is going to impact these most vulnerable people the most. So we have to give them that seat. And this is not a novel idea. There have been other places around the country that have done successful climate action plans which have involved community input, such as the Erie County, New York Climate Action Plan, what they did is that they found proper representatives for all these different groups and formed a task force to give real oversight and decision power over what the climate action plan was developing. And we can do the same. So that's why right now I'm inviting everyone who's listening, including the people who's watching the video, to check the petition in this QR code, and if you haven't yet, sign up to demand our government to form a task force that will properly address the representation and inclusiveness of all the people around our county, and to recognize the critical stakeholders that they actually are. My hope is that by approaching the process this way, we can actually listen to all of our neighbors. We can treat them with the respect that they deserve. And that we can make this county as good and as easy for everyone, for generations to come. Thank you.
Thank you, Juan. Incredible message. I really like the phrase "seat at the decision table." That's a new one for me. Next, we're going to hear from Gabrielle Lynn from Action for the Climate Emergency, and the organization that's also going to be hosting a rally tonight. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Gabrielle Lynn, and I'm the Pennsylvania Organizing Director at Action for the Climate Emergency for AIDS. We believe in the power of the people to take action and fight for our future, which is exactly why we're here today at the Climate Action Plan press conference, to advocate for an inclusive process. It is the people of Allegheny County who have been most impacted by decades worth of environmental harms. And it is the people of Allegheny County who deserve a say in the process that is at minimum, at least as significant as the impact of the harms that we faced. We have a real chance here to turn our county's legacy around, to show our fellow residents that we mean what we say and say what we mean. And what we're saying is we deserve a future with clean air, clean water, and climate action. What we mean is we deserve a future with clean air, clean water, and climate action. And what we know is in order for that future to become a reality, that work must start now, and it must include everyone. We call on County Executive Sarah Innamorato and the Sustainability Department Director Brittany Prischak to not only establish a Climate Action Plan Community Task Force, but ensure that the task force is actively a partner in climate action planning. We can't truly move forward without all of us, and we all stand here today ready to fight for our future. The only question now is, will the county join us? Is the county ready to fight for the safe and sustainable future that its residents deserve? To help further encourage the county to take climate action, join us at our Climate Emergency Day rally immediately following this press conference right here in front of the City County Building at 6:30. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much. So everybody stick around if you can. I'm really excited that we're able to partner in coalition with so many amazing groups that we see represented here today. Next, we're going to hear from Chief Pomaj of IPAA Food Forestry, Aborigine American Arts and Culture, America's Environmental Law Protectors. Thanks.
Woohoo! Great to be here. We are the change makers. We're the change that we want to see. Thank you for allowing me to speak before you today. My title is Pomaj and I'm the Grand Inca, also of my nation state, the Onwe Nation for short, and I am the Chief of Medicine, Land Stewardship, and Land Management with the Iroquois Confederacy of Aboriginal American People. I'm a part of this coalition because our voice matters. All voices matter. And to give some statistics, Indigenous people manage only 20% of the world's land, yet this land holds 80% of global diversity. Despite this, Indigenous peoples have legal right to only about 6% of the world's lands, and often these rights are restricted in practice. These rights are restricted in practice, and these are Indigenous lands. That's an oxymoron to me. Conservation International believes Indigenous people must be able to effectively manage their land's resources while maintaining our natural and cultural heritage. And free, prior, and informed consent goes right along with transparency. And so we're asking that this process be very transparent and that our voices are included within this discussion. We have a connection to this land, this air, and this water that we all hold so dear. We're all a part of this ecosystem. And if we are not involved with the process of this cap and it's not transparent to us, then there is no future generation. We don't know what will happen in the future if we're not at that table having these discussions and looking and having oversight and seeing that you're actually listening to the voices of the most marginalized peoples in this community. That they're actually not just listening, but they're actually implementing the ideas, the suggestions. And there, all of these people behind me and people who are not here have great insight into these things because they're actually being affected by it. And we heard the statistics of the Mon Valley and what's happening there, and that it's considered a sacrifice zone. And the cancer rates are astronomical in this county. My grandmother passed from cancer. My great aunt passed from cancer. I have an uncle who passed from cancer. And my husband right now has cancer, military, Marine, but served this country and then came home to live in a community that didn't care about the air quality and the water quality. So we're here to make sure that indigenous voices are actually going to be included and that we will have free, prior, and informed consent. It is important to prevent irreversible harm to the climate that supports us. Humanity must emit less climate warming greenhouse gases while also removing excess carbon from the atmosphere. We know this, but even the world instantly stopped using fossil fuels, we would still fall to avert a disastrous climate scenario if we did not also reverse the destruction of our ecosystems that absorb and store carbon. So we're here to say that these things are very important. And I'm speaking on behalf of indigenous people, the Aborigines of America, of the Americas, and the indigenous peoples of the world, because we have a connection sprung from the soil. We're connected to this as if it's a part of our blood, our bone, and our sinews. And you all too as well, because we all drink the same water. We all bathe in the same pools, jump in the same pools, and we all, grow food from the same soil and breathe the same air. I'm going to speak a little bit on behalf of Melanie Meade because she could not make it today. And Mayor Nesby also could not make it, and she's a part of the Mon Valley initiatives that push for their voices to be heard. Melanie has some words that she wanted the people to know today. And she's in the Clairton area, so Melanie Meade speaks for the Clairton community in the Mon Valley. She says, with regard to the CAP plan, we have to properly educate community members so they understand and know their power. She says Clairton is listed as a Class 3 municipality, meaning that they have 20,000 people or less, when they actually should be listed as a Class 4, 10,000 people or less. Organizations extract our stories, these are her words, while never showing up for the real fight that dismantles false narratives and places the money in the hands of the people who are most affected and willing to activate change initiatives. Millions of funds have been allocated to Clairton for USX pollution exceedances, and our local government is not assessing the $4.8 billion for air pollution prevention funds. Not everyone living in Clairton has received an air purifier, filter, and those that have state that their electricity bills increased. We need a holistic approach to serving the needs of our people. Hearing from the people and listening to the people are two distinct things. Listening means that the 100 years of disservice is apologized for, and quickly, intentionally focused actions are taken to help us get closer to our goals. In the words of Melanie Meade, thank you all for allowing me to speak today.
All right, thank you so much. We're next going to hear from Miguel Sigue III, Council of Three Rivers American Indian Center.
Hi, my name is Miguel Sigue III. I'm here on behalf of the Council of Three Rivers American Indian Center and also the Taino community of Pittsburgh, as well as the African community of Pittsburgh. I work at the Propel Charter Schools as well as public housing communities throughout Pittsburgh in a program called Children's Windows to Africa, in which we engage the children of these public housing communities in culture and history and geography, music and dance. And my specific part is kind of a unification. I talk about the ally. The ally I define as someone who, even though they might not have the same problems as you, they will help you with your problems. The ally was found, 500 years ago when one group of my ancestors was stolen from Africa and brought to the Caribbean, and they found allies in the Native Americans, the indigenous population of people that were living there. Even though they were suffering under the Spanish and their terrible, terrible deeds, just like the English and the Dutch and the French, all took part in the Ma'afa, as they call it in West Africa. But we know it as the transatlantic slave trade, the bringing of African peoples here to this country to be my ancestors. I would like to call myself among the allies of the Justice Coalition that is demanding climate justice for Pittsburgh, for Allegheny County, oversight, including minorities of all different groups and belief systems. We are still learning our history as humans. And so I think that it is a positive thing that the process be inclusive. And that's what I have to say.
Well, thank you so much. We have one more speaker, and then Fawn's going to wrap it up for us. But our next speaker is Elise from Sunrise Movement Pittsburgh.
Oh my gosh. It is such a privilege to be here and be able to fight for climate justice. I'm so grateful to be here. My name is Elise. If you don't know, Sunrise Movement is a national organization that does youth-led climate justice organizing. And I'm part of Sunrise Pittsburgh, which is our lovely Pittsburgh hub. I joined when I was 15. Not necessarily because I wanted to, but because I had to. You see, I'm a lifetime Pittsburgher. I love where I live. The weekend bustle of the Strip District, the conversations I've had about pierogi food trucks at PT, even the obsession we have with pickles. I'm here precisely because I love this place so much. We're here to discuss the existential crisis that my generation has been gifted with. Staring down the barrel of a gun held by the climate catastrophizers of big oil, threatening death through a fun menu of extreme heat, floods, and potentially tornadoes that decimate our homes, and especially in Allegheny County, the very air that we breathe. Of course, not everyone is breathing the same air. That's what we're here to talk about, right? The Pittsburgh maps of redlining and concentration of PM 2.5, which can cause heart disease, overlay neatly. And then there's Clairton, whose schools have an asthma management program because how many kids are affected by the rotten egg air from the Clairton Coke Works. The signs in parks that say no smoking, young ones at play, cover up this county's romance with poisoning our loved ones for economic gain. Officials hold on to the old narrative that climate and health are antithetical to a robust economy, and emissions and justice must be separated. This county could stand to benefit from our youth's imaginations of a truly livable future. Right now, the only imagination that our county has is reducing its own operational emissions. It's a slap in the face. What does the county plan to do about the ever more common triple-digit days? What about the catastrophic flooding we got a taste of this spring? The polluters poisoning our friends. And in our luck of being a relatively climate-resilient area, do we have a plan for the climate refugees that will come here when their countries go underwater? These problems are becoming too big to ignore. The people here have a much bolder vision for a climate action plan than just county operations. This is a shot at creating infrastructure that promotes equity, transparency, community resilience. To get there, we must ensure this climate action plan is drafted democratically. That means choosing drafters and enforcers of the plan without conflict of interests. Like we said, not a cent of fossil fuel money. Pick people and firms with experience in environmental justice policy and leading inclusive democratic processes. Make the Climate Action Plan Community Task Force. The members of the task force, as we said, need to be representative of all the municipalities of this county, weaving together all of our experiences to make a climate action plan that actually works. Look, Sarah and Alvarado, Brittany, it's not that hard. For all the time you spent organizing around these demands, they could have been in motion. We need you and your fellow county officials to step up as strong, bold leaders and enact the change that we need in this county. Now, for our health, for our neighbors, for our futures, history has its eyes on you. Thank you.
Thank you, and I just want to say, everybody, we've like really spread out, and I'm happy about that, but if we all just like pull it back together a little bit for our last hurrah with Fawn, I'd love that. All right, thank you.
Y'all give it up for all the speakers.
All right,
Thank you to everyone that spoke today. I do want to just recognize that we are on stolen land. I don't think we did that in the beginning, so I just want to recognize that we are on stolen land. I thank everyone that brought up the inclusive process, that it should involve Black people, brown people, Indigenous people, Aboriginal Americans, disabled people, formerly incarcerated people, everyone. So when we mean inclusive, we're talking about everyone. I also want to add that the process shouldn't be cookie cutter. And I want to be honest, because I don't know how else to be. So when it comes to environmental justice, that is a very white space, especially locally. You don't always see a lot of people that look like myself, that look like the chief. You don't always see us at the table all the time. We don't want another cookie cutter process. We don't want a process where you'll have 1 or 2 meetings to community. You have buzzwords in the plan that is not representative of me, and I'm not sitting at the table.
That's right.
We don't want that anymore. We want an actual inclusive process. We want to be at the table.
All right.
Whatever task force you put together should look like what is behind me. Or you could probably just work with the people who already put the shit together in the first place, and that would be us. So we don't want cookie cutter. We don't want to be left out. It also is not lost on us that we have to do this, because we were promised a progressive administration. I'm going to say that again. We were promised a progressive administration. So it is not lost on us that we have to get up once again, and fight for things that we should just have because of human decency. So we have to once again organize. So as a Black person, every time I do this, I have to conceptualize in my mind that I have to come here and ask y'all for a basic human right. Clean air, clean water. We ain't even got the basics. We can't even walk down the street without inhaling some things from big oil corporations, from U.S. Steel, or wherever dumping ground y'all decided to dump in the Mon Valley that week. So it is not lost on us that we have to do this. So we want that inclusive process that is not cookie cutter. We want to make sure everyone is involved and everyone is included. I thank you all again for coming today.
All right,
Please make sure that you sign on to our petition.
Whose climate action plan? Our climate action